You're listening to the Platte River Bard.
Hello, and welcome to the Platte River Bard. This is Chris Berger.
And I'm Sherry Berger.
And we are here today once again with one of our favorite people, Andy Park, the creative director at the over here in the Nebraska Repertory Theatre. And we are so excited that he has invited us down here once again to speak with him about his latest production. Nice to see you again, Andy.
Good to see both of you too. Thank you so much for coming and for covering Nebraska Rep. We all really appreciate it.
Oh, we love it. We love coming down here. And we are so excited for your next production. It's called The Way to the Way. And when I first took a look at what was on your season, I just knew that somehow this had something to do with the influence that you had when you were in China. And so I was like, okay, we have to ask him about how this came about, and you wrote it, and so...
Yes, this is written by you as well.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, the Tao or the Way, so there's a famous philosopher, Lao Tzu, and he wrote this book called the Tao Te Ching, or the Book of the Way. And so this show is influenced by that and some other Chinese philosophers as well.
Wonderful. So how did you get inspired for this? What was the moment that you knew that you were going to put this into action?
Well, you referenced when I was in China. So years ago, I worked for the Cirque Shanghai franchise, and this was really my big break in the theater. I had just graduated from grad school. I was working a job I hated for people I didn't like, doing things I didn't believe in. You know how it goes.
Yes, sir.
And so I was like at the end of my wits, and then I got this call. I'd been recommended as a writer-director for Cirque Shanghai. And before I knew it, I'd never been, the furthest I'd been is Canada, and I found myself a couple months later in China, spending months at a time putting together Chinese acrobat shows and then bringing them back to the USA Open in Chicago. And then they would tour to different casinos in Atlantic City and around the country and the world. And then once I got the show touring, then I would go back and start the next one. And so I just fell in love with Chinese culture and also, the spectacle of it all and Chinese theater and also the Chinese thought, Eastern thought. And so when the pandemic rolled around and everyone was, down this identity politics path, I started to think, there is a different approach where we start to emphasize the ways that we're all connected as instead of the ways that we sort of are separate from each other. And so that's really where I started to think about this would be a great time to look at the Tao, to consider Lao Tzu again, and that's where the show came from.
So how did you decide? There are so many principles that the Tao has. How did you decide on which ones that you're going to incorporate into the show?
That's a really good question. And, there's another philosopher who came after Lao Tzu, and his name is Zhuangzi, and he wrote a book called The Zhuangzi. And so what's cool about him is he used like crazy animal tales and fables and fairy tale sorts of methods to sort of explain what the way is and how the Tao works and all of that. And they're really fun. Like, he is the only philosopher that you will read and laugh out loud. He's hysterical. And so it's been really fun. So I used a lot of Zhuangzi. I used parts of the Tao Te Ching, and I put together a story that I think is going to be really universal. And then the coolest part of the show, it's the community groups that are going to be performing with us.
We saw that.
It's like a kind of before the actual show starts, and then maybe afterwards as well. Or?
Yeah, that's right. So we wanted to make sure that we were involving the Asian community, and there's a vibrant one here in Lincoln. And the Asian Community and Cultural Center, we work directly with them to find different groups from the community that will be coming to perform. We have a group that's coming to teach Tai Chi, and audience members will get to participate at the beginning of the show. Sweet. We have dancers, and we have a percussion group that will open. And then we have the Way to the Way, and then every show ends with a Chinese lion dance. And this is percussion and flutes and lions, and it's going to be so much fun.
So beautiful.
I can't wait.
I know, this is very exciting. And I just love how the Rep has really, especially this season, has really embraced all of the inclusion and just celebrated so many different cultures.
Yeah, we want to be the theater of all Nebraska.
Yeah.
And we really feel that we have to tell stories from, sort of decentralize that European Western canon a bit and make sure that we're exploring other narrative structures and ideas and stories. And so that's what we've really been committed to doing.
Wow.
See, yeah, and no, I absolutely love that because there are so many different, like you said, kind of narrative structures, stories from all over the world that just aren't, European centric, which I finally found out when I started reading different stuff. And it's like, wow, all of these great stories, all of these great characters, these different sort of ways of thinking and philosophy that just never kind of made it over to us.
Yeah.
And it's really sort of refreshing. And I know it's not new, but to us it feels brand new. And like it's a new thing, and it gets you really interested. And it's like, well, what is this all about? And why is this? And how does this apply to me?
I
Because
actually
all of it-
love that point because when you think about it, it's not new, but it is. Like if you think about it, so Lao Tzu was basically like a philosopher of the stature of Aristotle, probably writing roughly around the same time.
Yeah.
So here you have these two philosophers, and there's two different traditions that are there. And here we are getting a chance to, sort of explore this Eastern tradition that was,
Right.
coming from around the same time period, just in a very different part of the world.
So
Yes.
like 400 BC, we're
Yeah,
talking about.
roughly so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
history of
and then
all
so
of
much,
that.
and they were so disconnected at that point, and all this stuff evolved sort of independently, and it's fascinating to watch, and especially to see the similarities.
Oh.
Where these people in completely different parts of the world who never probably even heard of each other or their lands, they're thinking the same things.
Absolutely. That's really interesting. That's very much like that Joseph Campbell. Like, how does this hero wear 1,000, different masks or have 1,000 different faces? How do these stories that have these similar reverberations occur all over the world with cultures that have not touched each other? It's very interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
really
And
interesting.
honestly, it must just come down to just our basic humanity. And that is what it means to be human.
I think you're right. And you know what? You're talking like a Taoist, You sound like a Taoist,
I think George Lucas and Yoda sound like a Taoist.
I'll tell you what, you're absolutely right. That is exactly it. I was just watching one of the episodes of one of the new series.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And watching, how the new Yoda, I forget his name, is learning the way.
Grogu.
Yeah, Grogu, thank you. And how he's learning the way. And I'm thinking, man, this is the Tao Te Ching on its feet.
I know,
Yes.
it really, every time I hear anything from Jedis, it's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
But no, really interesting and really fascinating that you've been able to put this together, and not only put this together as just like a play, because this isn't just sort of a normal play, and it's not a musical, but also it has one of my favorite things of all time is that you're bringing out the puppets again.
That is right.
I love that.
And our puppet maker, Jill Hibbard, she's the designer and the builder. She has really outdone herself with this one.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she truly is. And I can't wait for you to see it. She gets into some shadow puppetry in this one.
Excellent.
She does some large-scale, life-size animal puppets in this one. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But I think also just the mechanics that she's worked into the puppets I find extremely fascinating. The puppets that are blinking and their mouths are moving. There's this large life-size horse puppet, and as you push it, you wheel it around, but its legs are rigged so that they move automatically.
That's wonderful.
And it can do a whole series of tricks that I probably shouldn't spoil.
Yes. Yes.
But she had a lot of fun with that puppet in
Oh, I
particular.
bet. And I did catch a glimpse of it on your social media.
Yeah, you had a little
good.
just
Got a little bit of a
snippet,
glimpse.
just a
Yeah.
part of it. That's all.
Yeah. So how did you decide to come up with a script for this? So we've got all of these wonderful pieces, but how do you?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that you tell a story that is relatable. And I didn't want to just do a oh, this is a poetic reading of the Tao Te Ching, and because it's beautiful. Like, you can read the Tao in an afternoon, or you can read it in a lifetime. It's 5,000 words, but it's so profound you could just read it over and over. It's gorgeous, and it sounds like Yoda in many ways. It really does, but in a beautiful, beautiful way. It is gorgeous and inspirational, and I love it. But I knew that it needed to be more than a reading. I thought it should be a narrative that would take you through Taoist ideas so you could see how they apply to a single life, sort of thing.
Oh, neat.
And, in the Zhuangzi, there's this really famous story about a turtle that comes upon a well, and there's a frog that's down there. And he approaches the frog, and he's like, hey, do you want me to help you out of this well? And the frog is like, I got everything down here. He has no interest in leaving the well. And so to this day in China, there's a saying about don't be a frog in the well. You have to expand your horizons. You have to look beyond it. Yeah. But, a Taoist would also look at that story and think maybe that frog has everything he needs.
Yes.
Maybe he's content. Exactly.
With what he has. Yes.
So this story is about a turtle that's on his way to the seashore. And then he meets toward the end of his journey, he meets this frog. Okay. So that it's sort of taking this Taoist story, expanding on it, weaving in elements of the Tao Te Ching, other narratives from the Zhuangzi and other Taoist tales, and it's a journey story that shows this turtle basically finding the way.
Wow. I think it's hilarious that you think Star Wars and I think Wayne Dyer.
Hey,
Dow.
Wayne Dyer. I mean, he was
Wayne
a big
Dyer.
yeah, and actually Stephen Mitchell also wrote a really famous book. Really did a translation of the Tao Te Ching, and he actually, when he wrote it, he actually approached George Lucas and said, could I call this the Tao of Yoda?
Oh, yes.
Lucas, of course, wouldn't allow for that to happen.
Right.
But so now we got this gorgeous translation of the Tao Te Ching from Stephen Mitchell, which is also beautiful. But Wayne Dyer's, his is gorgeous too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's wonderful to hear people talk about stuff like that in today's world. And I think this is another iteration of that, is that you're bringing something that has so much history to it and making it relevant to us today. And I think probably one of the things, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of empathy in it as well, since those are some of the values. And
compassion is so critical to Taoist thought. Yeah, definitely.
Just making it relevant.
Yeah. I think it definitely speaks to the moment. And, it's interesting how, one of the Taoist ideas is that you accept things the way they are. In fact, you rejoice in the way things are. Yeah. So much of the time we spend our time running around the circle, as the Taoists would claim, not this, this, I want that instead of staying in the center of the circle and allowing the things to happen around you and accepting the balance of that.
So you wrote this, and we have puppets. We also have music, I believe. I said, now did you have a hand in writing the music as well?
I did. Okay. I worked with a good friend of mine. We've written several musicals together, and so I do more lyrics, and he is the composer. And so Scott Lamps, he did the music for this, and he also recorded a ton of the music. And I think it sounds great. The cast went into the studio and sang some of the music as well that we're using. We also have a lot of incidental music, and then a couple of songs in there. And then a really good artist, an amazing artist, David Roth. He wrote this song called "The Cutter of Stone." It's not David Lee Roth. It's a folk singer.
There we go.
It's a folk singer, and he wrote this song called "Cutter of Stone" based on a Taoist story. And so we used that song as well. And Scott did a new arrangement of it for this.
Wow.
So
cool.
That's exciting.
Okay, so I got to know. And I don't know whether you may know this off the top of your head, but all of the puppets and puppetry, and you said they got the shadow puppets and all that. Did Jill ever do a final count on how many she made for this particular production?
Well, that is such an interesting question because when we started this project, it was even larger than it was.
Oh.
I mean, and so she built all of these puppets, like over 100 puppets for this show. As the challenges of putting on a production came about during this very, very crazy time. Came about. We ended up actually doing a major rewrite of the show and creating a whole different set of puppets.
Oh.
So she has made like so many puppets
Oh my gosh.
that it's crazy. But like this production here, I don't have an exact count, but I'm sure it's got to be somewhere between 50 and 100 puppets that will be in this show.
And then probably there are probably different kinds of puppets. So there's probably a line where something isn't a puppet, but it is.
Yeah, and you know, the one of the really fun things about this style is that you don't necessarily bring a puppet out for long periods of time. Sometimes the puppet just needs to go across the stage. Like there's this one spot where these cranes go across the stage. You see them for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. They're amazing. And then they're gone, you know, or like we have these ants that come on, these other really special puppets. And so like in the moment, you're like, oh, that's so cool. And you might not even think about them again. You'll remember certain puppets, but it all adds to the spectacle of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't wait.
It's gonna be fun.
I think it's great.
Okay.
So what kind of feedback have you gotten from the groups that you're using for like your first part of each of the performances?
Yeah, you know, the groups have been extremely excited to be a part of it. And also I think that they recognize this is an opportunity to be seen in a very large way. You know, several thousand people will see the show, and it's an opportunity for them to reach the UNL community here as well. And so there's been a lot of excitement, and I think everyone is pretty happy about this opportunity to do this and to just see a story that's from their tradition, you know, put up on the stage, I think is special for people. So we've had a lot of help, like with the show itself, you know, partners that have contributed all from the very beginning, even the writing stages, and all the way up until now. And now we have these amazing local groups that are going to be getting on stage, and they are awesome. They are they're gonna blow people away. So I can't wait.
Oh, I'm excited. Oh, wonderful.
All right. So, okay. So for somebody who may not have ever had any experience with the Tao Te Ching or anything of that nature, and this might be something, this is brand new. What do you say to them? How should they come? How should they come to this?
Well, I think that you should come to the show with just an open heart and know that the Tao, what's great about Taoism is that they just don't take themselves too seriously. You know, they love to laugh. They want to embrace life the way it is. And so you just come and experience a story from a different worldview, and just enjoy it, and don't worry too much. There will be different ideas that are expressed here, and if you like them, you should look into them more. And if you don't, well, there's plenty of options to explore the Western tradition around.
Exactly.
So you can go. But I think if you've never been around the Tao, it's extremely poetic. It's beautiful. It's the idea that all of us are connected by this essence or this energy that runs through us all, that we're all deeply connected, and what you do to someone else, you do to yourself. And you know, these are concepts that I think all of us can remember, and that I think on some level all of us know that that's true, that we have this profound connection with all life and all things on this planet. So, and this universe, for that matter, as the Taoists would say.
Right. So on the musical score, then, are you bringing in some different instruments that you would normally not be using?
Absolutely. You
Ooh,
definitely
yes.
hear like the tradition, and I won't try to say what all the instruments are because I don't know for sure. But you'll hear it, and you'll hear the influence that the Eastern Chinese influence on the score. And the composer, he has his degree in Eastern thought as well. So he was just the perfect person to work on it.
Right.
And he's taken great care. So you'll hear that, and you'll hear that influence, and you'll just know that the score is supporting this very important story, just as it should.
Oh, wow. Well, we're super excited, and I'm, the puppets that you make are just amazing, so I cannot wait to see them.
Yeah, no, we've been so excited to see. Of course, last time we were able to see something kind of along this vein, which was 1,000 words, which was just one of the favorite things I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
I cried in a puppet show.
Yeah, and I think we saw it 3 times, and
I came back.
Yes, and I just loved it, and I honestly I can't wait to come see this. I've really been looking forward to this quite a bit, and I would just encourage everybody to come and check this out, because Andy's shows are not like other shows that you have seen.
No. And this is part of your whole journey that you're doing this season.
This wonderful seasonal journey
it sounds
that you
completely
put together.
Appropriate.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I thank you again, you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys on Wednesday night.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Andy Park, Creative Director of the Nebraska Repertory Theatre. The name of the show is The Way to the Way.
The Way to the Way opens February 23rd at the Nebraska Repertory Theatre. Wednesday through Saturday shows are at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday shows are at 2 p.m. For tickets, go to nebraskarep.org. Thank you for listening and supporting the arts in the Platte River area and beyond. Please subscribe to our podcast so you are sure to catch all of our future episodes, and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Music for this podcast was used with permission by Screaming Skull Productions. See you next time on the Platte River Bard.